Hi, my name is Kendall Phillips, and I did my project over Iran's food and culture. So, a brief history of Iran. They were formerly known as Persia until about 1935, and in 1979 they became known as the Islamic Republic. During the 1980s, Iran fought a nasty war with Iraq, which then expanded to the Persian Gulf, and at that point led to clashes between the U.S. Navy and the Iranian military, which became known as the Persian Gulf War. And then Muslim is the main religion of the Iranians, with about 1% of the country being some sort of other religion, Christianity, Judaism, things like that. The education and literacy rate. Population in school systems is very low in the country compared to the amount of people that live there. A lot of kids from age 6 to 11 are in school, and then numbers slowly dwindle as you get to ages 12 and 17, and then even more so as you get to college age kids about 18 to 22. There's billions of people that live in that area, and barely over 1 million people are in the school system. So the literacy rate for population age 15 years and older is about 85%. Male literacy rate is much higher than females. Population age 65 years and older is only about 36%, which is significantly lower than the younger age group, but you can expect that to get higher as the generations continue to grow. Economy in Iran is very unstable, which can be due to the low education rate and people being unemployed as a whole. Geographic factors that affect the foods. Air and water pollution are both significant problems in Iran. Some regions are more dry than other regions, but rain is scarce overall in that part of the country. The location of the country makes food choices be part Greek in selection and part Indian as well. So the food is more varied than the Greeks, but less spicy than Indian food would be. Traditional health beliefs, they believe that consuming too cold foods or too hot foods at the same time will cause some sort of immediate death. I thought this was interesting to learn about because I don't know how many times I'll drink cold milk and ice cream all at the same time, and to them that would be, something that you're not supposed to do due to the fact of potentially immediately dying. So that was pretty interesting to learn about. And their predominant communication style is very indirect. They're very nonverbal and speak figuratively when trying to get a point across. They usually take a long time actually trying to get their point across and explain themselves by using an example of a story or a saying. So, description of food habits. Some of their common foods, their core foods, are rice, bread, and lots of vegetables, which for us, our core foods are more so the meats and proteins like that, but that's more of their secondary foods, especially lamb, goat, or chicken. Flavors are usually mixes of sweet and spicy. Their typical meal patterns. Breakfast is a very light meal, usually consisting of bread, tea, sometimes butter, white cheese, and jam. Eggs may also be eaten at breakfast. The main meal is usually eaten at about 1 o'clock, and it consists of fresh greens served with bread and cheese. The main dish is steamed rice, and this is usually served with a stew made of lamb or chicken and a fresh vegetable or fruit. Sweets are most likely to be consumed in the afternoon with tea rather than as a dessert like we eat sweets here in America. And then the evening meal is usually a light meal, which consists of leftovers from the afternoon meal or a little bit of bread, fruit, cheese, and tea. Fruit can also be served at any time in Iran. Alcoholic beverages are forbidden in Iran under the Islamic Republic, but are still very widely consumed. Common preparation methods. Bread is usually prepared by being baked or cooked over a bed of hot stones. Meat is usually made in the form of a kebab by being marinated in lemon juice with onions and tomatoes and then grilled over a hot fire. Some meats are even cooked and made into a soup or stew and combined with vegetables. Rice is usually boiled or steamed with different herbs and vegetables, and sometimes eggs. Traditional foods for special occasions. Ramadan is no food or drink to be consumed from sunrise to sunset. So families usually rise before dawn to prepare heavy breakfasts that look like that of the afternoon meal. This process is then repeated at sundown. These foods consist of rice, bread, different meats, and fruits and vegetables. Special crispy fried sweets made from yogurt batter are soaked in syrup and are frequently served as well. Nowruz, or New Year, takes place on the first day of spring, which is March 21st. And the only really cool thing that I read about this is at 5 p.m. it's customary for people to eat lettuce leaves dipped in honey and vinegar dressing with tea, and also that a mother will often eat one cooked egg for every one of her children. Historical food preservation methods. They freeze their meat, especially fish. They dry their vegetables. Nothing very fancy. Dining etiquette and unusual food habits. Upon entering a home, you must remove shoes. People of opposite sex don't sit next to one another. Talking is kept to a minimum. And always try and accept everything that is offered to you food-wise, and try and eat everything off your plate because it's offensive if you do not. Use of food for health. Food with cold nature must be eaten in the summer. Food with warm nature must be eaten in winter. Water should be consumed after the digestion phase, not while eating or immediately after. The best food for you isn't always the best tasting food. It's the more health food. Major health problems, malnourishment. Sodium content is high in their foods. They eat lots of meals per day. Food habits related, like I said, lots of meals, lots of rice and bread and carbs, and cutting down these would probably lead to more healthy individuals. More consumption of meat and proteins should be encouraged. Drink more water. Keep up the intake of vegetables at each meal. Limit intake of sugary sweets and snacks. Watch sodium intake. Less meals. When people come to the U.S., they become more unhealthy than they previously were. So our portions are bigger and food is worse for you here. So definitely just stay in Iran. I hope y'all enjoyed learning about this as much as I enjoyed learning about it as well.